Hi guys, welcome back to another track guide, and this time, welcome to Zolder in GT4, and we're in the Mercedes. As always, the setup is down below for you to download and donate if you fancy, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then please do go ahead and do so. It really helps. We're past the 1,000 subscriber mark now, which is really great, so it's pretty cool. As always, we're above 30 degrees track temp here, which is sort of representative of what you guys are going to be racing in. So let's go ahead, dive right in. So we come around to this very short start-finish straight. You're immediately faced with this left-hander in front of you, and most people think, "Oh, I'm gonna, that gantry ahead is a really nice point to brake." But actually, what I want you to focus on is the last flag on the right-hand side. Just highlighted it there. It is the braking point for all braking points. This first corner between there and the gantry is where you want to be braking in pretty much any conditions. So if it's fast, a little bit before, and you want to remember that if you brake and turn too much, you're going to slide wide on that first corner. You need to be clipping the curb on the inside. You've got a lot of room on the outside here to burn, especially in GT4, because you've got a whole host of time to flick back over to the left-hand side. In GT3, it's a little bit different because you don't have as much time because you're travelling faster to get back over to the left-hand side. Here we are, going back over to the left-hand side of the track. And I'm going to pause it just here because we'll talk a little bit later about some other braking points, but I want to focus on this sign on the right-hand side. Just need to get a feel for where it is. It's not an exact science braking for this corner, especially as you'll be doing very different speeds when you pass through the first corner as well. So just get used to the picture here and where you are in relation to that sign. Make sure you get some of the curb, or at least near the curb on the inside here. I take quite a lot here, and I wanted to pause it because I'm really on a lot of power while I'm on the curb here. The back end of the car is going to flick round, and again, a mistake a lot of people make is there's a lot of room on the outside there. There's a lot of room to make a lot of speed up. This corner, notoriously, everyone struggles with it. It's a really nice slip road on the left-hand side as a braking point. You're just going to brake just at the beginning of that, so we're before the dark tarmac ahead of you if you're on optimum track and it's all rubbered in, all that jazz. It's just a bit more of a reliable braking point. A lot of people use, clouds or shadows or all that sort of thing. It's not what we're about. We're finding concrete braking markers which are going to work all the time. On the power really early before you get on the apex here to get the back end of the car rotated round with that diff, and we're in away into the rest of the section. Let's have a look at that again. So braking on that flag. Turn in a little bit later than you think you are. The front's going to slip slightly just as you're braking and you're not judging it quite right. I do it as well. Just before the sign on the right hand side, make sure you sort of get in earlier than you think, because you've got a lot of room on the outside. These GT4s are all about keeping momentum, so it's really important to get across to you. Looking for the slip road on the left hand side where you're braking before the tarmac, nice and early in power, get the front in to bite, and then away you go. And we're into the second sector. Let's have another look at it from above. Slightly set back this week, and obviously if you haven't subscribed yet and you're enjoying the video, do so and hit the like button as well. It's really helpful. Feel that slightly later apex on the first corner, carrying a lot of speed. Flick over to the left hand side. Now, I said we'd talk about this a little bit later in the video. Look where I've paused it. Look what's on the left-hand side of the car. It's a nice little gantry, nice little braking point there. You can actually see it in the car. It just goes out of the view. So if you can get used to seeing that coming off the screen, then use that as your braking point. I personally don't, but I know quite a few people who do. So bear that in mind. I thought I'd add it in. Looking for that slip road again and really throwing it into this right-hander. Nice and late on the apex, nice and early on the power though, and you're looking to almost get the car to drift round there, and you're looking to stay much earlier on the track. You don't want to be going wide there because you'll lose a lot of time. Notoriously difficult corner this, obviously these are so difficult. You've got the 100-meter board on the right hand side there, but actually the braking point that I want you to be looking for is this pillar here. It's really quite difficult to highlight. It's the first one on the right hand side. That's the braking point in GT4, not the 100-meter board. So brake on that pillar. You're going to skip over, and bear this in mind, GT4 you can smash these curbs, okay? It's not like GT3 where you're going to fly into the wall. You really can go over these curbs. The cars are much softer, much more pliable through there. Let's have another look. So brake on the pillar. Keep it in third gear. You're going virtually all the way over that curb on the inside, so you're straight lining the two curbs together. It's really important that you do get that straight line, otherwise you will crash. Coming to the next little chicane, you're going to be braking earlier than you think you do. A lot of people think you brake at the start of the dark markings, but I want you to brake just before. That means you're going to be braking slower and over a longer period of time, and you're going to keep the car more stable. I think a lot of people struggle with this chicane, and I did when I first started as well, is oversteering into the first part of it and then either spinning off to the right hand side or just not being able to cut it as much as we're going to cut it now. So you can see my turning point here. It's quite early because we're basically going to straight line this as well. You basically need your right hand tyre to be where that cone is, and the same on the left hand side. So I've paused it here because a lot of people say, oh, Matt, how much can you cut that chicane? And well, this is your answer. This is the view pretty much on the limit of where you can cut this chicane. So there's 3 sort of markers on the inside, which you saw just before we paused it. That's the limit. Little lift off to get the nose in and straight back on the power, especially in GT4. Turn in at the end of the curve. This is absolutely flat in GT4 or GT3, and you're away into the next sector. So let's just have a quick look at that again. So on the lamppost, you're straight lining this really bumpy chicane, keeping your steering really straight even on the exit, so don't turn straight away. That's quite important. Braking earlier than you think you should for this one, braking slower, nice and smooth down the gears. There's your limit through there. Little lift off, maybe not even a full lift off there, just to get the nose turned in, and you're flat until the next hairpin. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, do just take a look at the subscribe button. Just take a look. Really interesting to see the line through the next chicane. You can see how far actually I keep it straight after that first chicane before I start pulling over to the right hand side to go up and down the hill. Nice and early on the brakes. Really cut that. You see those 3 red markings? There's what you're aiming for your inside tyre to be over those. That's sort of the limit of where you can get to. And this one's obviously a late apex going up the hill. There's a lot of room on the outside there to work with if you run a bit wide. This one, really easy braking point. Not going to dwell on it too much. It's the 100-metre board on the left-hand side. Pretty universal. GT3, GT4, whatever car, give or take. In the rain, obviously, it's a little bit earlier because we're coming into here at 130 odd. The really important thing with this corner is you do get on the brake nicely. You turn in early and you think, can you get that inside, that right hand front tyre on the curb, because it hooks you in and pulls you round. And early on the power, you see we're already on half power. Got a lot of room on the outside here to work with. There's a nice curb there which you can rely on, and you can spin up the rear tyre on and everything, and it'll shoot you out because it's sort of a bit of a nothing chicane there. You just got to navigate it nicely. So we're up on our time here, and again we're faced with a 100-metre board with a pole behind it. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what you're going to say, Matt. Well, what I'm going to say is look for the pole. That's the braking point. Same as the chicane in the first half of the lap. We're going to brake in there. We're going to try and take a little bit more curb than I did on the inside here. So a bit of bad practice. I like to take more curb on the inside here than I did, so I can straight line this right hander. It's really, really important that you can do that. I just want to focus on the power input here. I've kept sort of, what is that, 40% throttle, just to keep the rear of the car in check and to keep it rotating around without it slipping out. Really neat trick that, not coming all the way off the power. And again, you've got a lot of room on the outside, and away you are to finish your lap of Zolder. Mid-35s in this sort of weather's okay. Definitely a bit of time in there, sort of 3 or 4 tenths, but we're all good. So let's look at that last sector again. Braking at the 100-metre board, make sure you get your inside tyre hooked on the curb there. It will fling you round, you stamp on the power, get the back end out a little bit if you want to. Have a nice exit though onto this little mini straight into one of the overtaking opportunities, into the final chicane. Brake on the lamppost on the right hand side. Take a little bit more curb, a little tighter than I did on the inside there, so you can set yourself up nicely for the right hand. A bit of oversteer correct. Make sure you straighten the steering out nicely for that one, and the way you go for another lap on the very short start to finish straight. So again, let's have a look above, just slightly set back from the car. Loads of really nice markings around this track to get yourself hooked in and really into the rhythm of the track. This is a bit of a nothing chicane. I'm sure if you had a longer run up, it would be quite interesting to go through there, especially in these cars with low air, but not at that speed. Braking at the lamppost. Really need to get into that curb on the left hand side more than I did there, so you can flatline this exit. Use the room on the outside. Again, you've got a nice curb there to rely on. It's really, really, really good. So let's have a look at the lap in full. I'm just going to walk through again. So brake a little bit in a straight line and then turn in. You don't want to turn in and brake at the same time there, because you're just going to understeer off. It's a mistake a lot of people make. Looking for the sign on the right hand side, getting that feel for where you need to turn in. You can take a lot of curb there on the inside and the outside if you want to, because it's a very smooth exit through this right hander. Braking on the slip road, make sure you're apexing later than you think you should through there. all about not going wide, because if you do go wide through there, it's game over down this straight, and you're going to get swamped into this chicane when you're braking on the lamppost, and it's going to cause havoc. Completely flatline the second half of the chicane. Keep the steering straight until you properly land the car. It's really, really, really important. That's what stabilizes it. Up and over the crest, braking before the line, nice and smooth down the gears. Make sure you're over those 3 red markings with each tyre on each side. A little bit of a lift to get the nose in, and flat until the hairpin in the second last corner up over this hill. Loads of run off there. Remember, if you don't think you're going to make it, don't lift out of the throttle, just run a bit wide. Brake on the 100-metre board, down the gears nice and easy, into first gear. A lot of cars are here, possibly second in some GT4s. Make sure you get a smooth exit, use that diff to rotate the back of the car round, and we're into the final chicane where we know we need to cut it a bit more. Quick reminder guys, the setup is available to download in the description, so go check out that. These ones are going for free. You can donate if you want, but you know, do not feel obliged to do so. It's absolutely not necessary. And away we go for another lap. So interesting, let's just look at that from above again and pick out a few different points. You'll notice how I just brake it slightly in a straight line to start with and then start turning. Really important to do that on this first corner, just so you scrub off that initial speed. Loads of time to go over to the left hand side. Look for the sign or the hut on the left hand side, depending on where your eyes tend to take you. I like to look towards the inside of the corner a lot of the time, but I know a lot who like to look towards the outside. That's absolutely fine. Looking for the slip road in wet conditions. That's a really important braking point. Make sure you turn in, well, get on the power later than you I think you should, but nice and early still, if that makes sense. Looking for the lamppost coming into this chicane. Keep the steering straight after you land. So important. I hope that comes across in that video clip to everyone as well, because it is so, that is the difference between crashing and not crashing coming out of there. It's keeping that steering straight. Cutting those red markers there. Really good indicator of how much you can cut the track there. Get the nose in on this right-hander. Use the curbing to turn in, so you widen your angle, so it makes it easier to take this right-hander flat. Loads of room on the outside, and you're away into the second last corner where we're going to be braking on the 100-metre board. Nice and early. Don't have to late apex this one. It's quite a traditional hairpin, which is nice for once. A lot of tracks on ACC tend to have late apexes or early apexes. It's quite nice to have a kind of normal-ish hairpin. Again, final chicane, get into this curb on the left hand side a little bit more than me. You can cut right over those 2 red strips and straighten the steering out as soon as you can, keeping that little bit of power on and across the line. Guys, I hope that's been helpful. As I mentioned, the setup's in the description. Do check it out and let me know in the comments how you get on with Zolder in GT4. Next week is Imola, the release of Imola, so we should have that coming for you pretty sharpish. I'm going to get on the GT3 and GT4 one, probably in the new GT3 Ferrari or Merc as well. So until next time, see you then.